I'm so excited to be here today to introduce you to one of our most recent authors, Emily Wishall, who is a certified rolfer and embodiment coach who's written a beautiful book called Radical Embodiment, a practical guide to celebrate the skin you're in. Emily, welcome. It's so great to see you, and I'm so excited for this conversation today.
Thank you, Catherine. I'm excited and honored to be here and to get to connect with you in this way. Yeah.
Well, it was such a beautiful gift to be able to watch you on your book journey and bring forth the wisdom that you have around women's bodies, women's shame around their bodies, and particularly your own story and how that impacted the work you're doing today. So I would love for you to share a little bit about your own journey and what inspired you to write this book.
Yeah. So it's always that answer probably always shifts just a little bit, but my own story is what inspired the book, is really what has inspired me to do this work in regards to specifically really supporting women to inhabit their body, which I really believe in this conversation around body love and this conversation of like learning how to love our bodies. If we're not inhabiting our body, we're not going to be able to really experience that true, deep, consistent, present love. And so that's what I found in my own journey and experience is like, it wasn't until I learned to inhabit my body that I was able to really love and embrace myself exactly how my body is. So most of my life, like I write about it in my book, which I do have here. I'll show it because it's a beautiful cover.
Beautiful.
Radical. Yeah. I forget the designer's name. I forget her name. Melinda
Martin. Shout out to Melinda.
She did beautiful work on that. But most of my life, like from starting around the age of 8, I felt like I wasn't enough because at that very young age, I internalized this story about myself that I was too fat, I was too big, and that made me feel like I didn't really belong, or made me feel like I couldn't really be acceptable or receive others' approval until I could be this, fitting image of what I believed, a young girl my age should look like, or what size she should be wearing. And so I like most of my life, until the last 8 years, but before that, I really spent with this like constant preoccupation of what am I going to wear? Is this outfit okay? Like having to try on, 5+ outfits before leaving the door, not because I just enjoy clothes so much, but because I felt so insecure and I felt like nothing really looked good or nothing really felt my body. When I was, going out in public, I was constantly trying to suck my stomach in, trying to look smaller, wondering, when I'd be going out to eat with others, like, oh, am I eating too much? Like, is this okay? Like, are they going to think, oh, this is why Emily's so, fat or too big? And the reality is people probably weren't thinking that at all. But it was my own internal narrative and conditioning. And unfortunately, I think a lot of women in our culture within the United States, and not just women, men as well, completely, of course, have their own body image struggles. Which I like to just also name that, like, no matter what gender you like identify with, that we are all in bodies. And unfortunately, most of us have been conditioned to despise the skin we're in. Like the weight loss and marketing industry in 2018 netted a profit of $72 billion. And that's within the United States, which is that's a net profit of $72 billion just within the weight loss and marketing industry. So specifically, they're trying to market to us to not feel good until we lose the 5 pounds, or until, I was speaking with a client the other night and, her story has been the opposite. She's always felt too small, too thin, right? And so it's like whatever end of the spectrum you're on, it's like we can never be enough until our body is X, Y, or Z. And then often, maybe you finally get that weight loss goal or get the, bodybuilding competition body, but then you're still not happy with yourself. You still don't really love yourself. And so ultimately it doesn't have to come down, it doesn't have anything to do with weight. And to go back into, no matter what gender you identify with, I think it ultimately comes down to, in regards to us not feeling comfortable in our own skin, or not like constantly kind of feeling like we need to change our appearance. It's because we're looking for acceptance. We want to receive others' acceptance, whether it be we're trying to attract in a certain partner or career or status, or just like receive, family approval or friend approval. That we have this trained, conditioned belief that it's through like looking a certain way that we're going to receive that. And what I've experienced personally and now have seen, also like through other stories of, it doesn't have anything to, that's like not it's not like that story, in sentence, right? It's so much more, and it has more to do with how can we shift our narrative to want to receive our own acceptance and validation first, and how can we like bring ourselves back into our own internal experience more versus being so externally focused. And I now, having shared that like I hated my body most of my life, I now also really know what it feels like to have like a really deep and beautiful connection with my body, where I really think of my body as like my best friend, like as one of my dearest friends. And I, connect with my body daily as a guide, as a support, as a resource, and a regulator to help me see maybe where I'm out of balance or out of alignment, or maybe where I need to step back a little bit, or maybe where I need to lean in a little bit more into the discomfort. And to have that juxtaposition of those two experiences, from like hating my body to really loving my body, and just the difference and the quality of life I get to experience and the energy I get to have, is really what's inspired me to write the book and to do this work. And the book for me was a way to put it into a concise and tangible framework and guide, to be more accessible.
I love all that you shared, Emily. Wow. There's so much to unpack there. And I'm just so curious, with your own story and the tools that you share in the book, the framework that you mentioned, what have you seen with your clients in particular that's the most, powerful first step for a woman, like on the journey of wanting to befriend her body, of wanting to, drop the shame or the hate, like you call it, of, despising the skin you're in? Like, what is that first practice or tool or step that you can offer that you think that you've seen be, super transformational for your clients?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I have like two that are like buzzing in my head, but I think like the first that I would share is that it's more than just not being on your phone, but not being plugged into your phone first thing in the day or at the end of your day. And not just your phone, but like your computer, television, like having at least a 30-minute window around sleep before and after, where you're really more in a reverent, intentional space. Because if we're immediately starting our day in this world that is outside of us, of what's going on with them, what's happening in my email, what's on social media, what text messages or voicemails do I need to reply back to, if we're ending our day in that kind of frenzy, it's going to be next to impossible as you go through your day to discern what's really yours, what's really true for you. And I think being able to have the ability to discern what is yours, like what is true for you, what is it you're really feeling in any given moment, is essential in this journey to really loving your body, because that's going to support you in not getting so swayed by advertising, by marketing, swayed into comparison, as maybe you are on social media and seeing other bodies. Or, not that you won't ever compare yourself to another body or feel like, oh, maybe I need that, but it will give you the ability to take a moment and take a deep breath, take a pause, and come back into yourself and be like, oh, wait, is that really true for me? Or do I really need that? And what is it that I may be feeling? What is this comparison bringing up? To be able to look a little deeper and not just get so like stuck in this mental loop that usually doesn't feel good. And so with that, I like to often offer of the 30-minute time, which you can do whatever you want in that time. Of course, and if you have a partner or a family that lives with you at home, you can totally like be with them, but just it's a time to just be really fully present with them. But I also, then the next piece, so it's like one step, but it's kind of twofold, but would be to either at that beginning of your day or end of your day, spend at least 5 minutes where you set a 5-minute timer with the intention of just being in your body. So it's like a 5-minute body scan. I, call like 5 minutes of body time. The focus, it's not trying to change your experience. You're not trying to like rev yourself up or amplify into a state of joy. You're just allowing yourself to be present with what is, and acknowledging yourself in that and starting to build a deeper connection with your body, right? So going through your body and noticing like what sensations are present, right? What maybe feels dull or achy or like almost like black, like you can't really connect into it. And, maybe what parts of your body feel alive with sensation that feel like maybe spacious, or maybe there's some semblance of pleasure that's present. And I think that's really key to do that every day, because I think of like embodiment and this journey of inhabiting our body. It's like it's similar to a muscle, right? And so if we're wanting to build a muscle, we have to work that muscle. And similarly, most of us who have disliked our body or been dissatisfied with the way our physical body looks have spent most of our time popping out of our body, not being present to it and trying to like be anywhere but in our body. And so we're starting to little by little retrain our nervous system and our emotional state that it's safe, it's okay to like be in your body. So I think if someone is listening to this and has been struggling with the way that you feel about your body, or like comparing yourself to others, and just kind of in that constant rut, I would really encourage you to, have 30 minutes around your waking window where you're choosing to do something really intentional for you. And then to also gift yourself like 5 minutes every day where you're really like being in your body.
Thank you, Emily. Wow, that's a lot of great content. And I know that's only one tiny practice.
Yeah,
that you
kind of
have
like
in your
two.
book. And it's deep, and it's so powerful for, I think, most of us who are constantly pulled out of our bodies with all the external distraction in the world at our fingertips. So I think that's a wonderful tip, first practice for somebody. And I know that your book has so much more of that, and that you're offering this also in a coaching program, correct? Will you tell us a little bit more about how you work with your clients?
Yeah. So thank you for saying that and asking. So I have a 12-week private coaching program for women called Releasing Body Shame. And so in that 12-week container, there's of course private calls with me that we go deeper into what that individual, what she's specifically struggling with. Often I find when clients, not always, but often when clients start working with me, even this idea of embodiment is so foreign. They'll share they've had a therapist or a coach before, just tell them, just drop into your body, just be in your body. And they're like, I'm trying. And like, what does that mean? And so it's important to me, like, because I see that kind of commonly now, to also break down like what are like entry points of access for them. And also for whatever reason, I just wanted to say that in this recording. And this, if someone is watching this and feeling like judging themselves of like, I'm trying to be in my body and I'm just not feeling anything, or I don't feel any sensations, that you're not alone in that experience. And so in my 12-week container, women get private coaching calls with me where we go deeper, and I support them and coach them in really being able to be in this vessel more readily. They also, on top of that, I have a 12-week online program called Body Love, 12 weeks to happiness and confidence in your own skin. And so in Body Love, there's weekly teachings and modules and practices. And so as a client's working with me through the 12-week container, they're also going through those modules and teachings and practices every week, which really culminate, like they build on each other. So you're getting a lot of one-on-one support with me, as well as a lot of like teaching and practice time. So it really, I think, is comprehensive in that it kind of supports my clients from a myriad of ways. Yeah. With the overarching intention of they're walking away, one, like having released a lot of body shame, and then two, being able to, as like shame comes back up, what they like be able to recognize that. And instead of internalizing it, which often we do, which only feeds the shame, they're able to make a different choice and do something that would support them in moving the shame out and beyond. And then also feeling like they really are on the path to really loving their body and feeling really confident and happy in who they are.
Yeah. Love that, Emily. Thank you. And so how can anyone find you? What is your website? What's the best way to reach out to you and learn more about your program, your book, etc.?
So my website's 𝗥𝗱𝗶𝗰𝗹 So you can go to 𝗥𝗱𝗶𝗰.com to find more information about me, about my work. There's a link to my book on the website. I also have a podcast under the same name, Radical Embodiment. So if you enjoy podcasts, that's a nice way to get an introduction to my work. There's currently 7 episodes up. So you can just search for that. Yeah.
Well, great. Emily, thank you so much for your time today. And I'm just so excited to see you building this whole brand around radical embodiment, because it's clear that there's a need. And it's such a beautiful thing to be able to witness your evolution through your own story and writing this book, and now serving so many women who really need your expertise. So thank you so much, Emily, for joining us today.
Thank you, Catherine. Thank you. Yeah.